Whether conscious of it or not, public speaking is a skill we as humans rely on every day. Public speaking in its most basic form is using language to try and convey a unique message, which could loosely be translated to pretty much any form of communication. Whether it's talking to a friend, meeting with a professor or boss, or giving a speech, all of that can be considered public speaking. The term public speaking kind of scares people off. When most people think of it, they feel reminded of being nervous in front of an audience. Public speaking does not have to be a scary thought, as there are many ways to become a better speaker. Through research and experience, I have discovered a couple of key ways that can improve the quality of speaking, help ease nerves while speaking, and captivate audiences both big and small. The first way to improve speaking is the use of hand gestures and body movement. If I were to stand right like this for the rest of the speech with my hands in my pockets like this, it would be awkward and hard to pay attention to. But there's science behind it too. A consultant for the Washington Post named Vanessa Van Edwards studied TED Talks based on their popularity. She found that the average least viewed TED Talk had about 141,000 views with an average of 272 hand gestures. The top ranked ones, meanwhile, had an average of 7.4 million views and 465 hand gestures during that same amount of time. That is solid proof that hand gestures help keep attention. Public speaking revolves around hand gestures. Without them, there is no way to effectively communicate. Professor Spencer Kelly, co-director of the Center for Language and Brain at Colgate University, while studying the importance of hand gestures, said, "Gestures are not merely add-ons of language. They may actually be a fundamental part of it, which means that if you aren't using hand gestures, you're actively neglecting to use a fundamental part of speaking. To improve a skill, you must learn fundamentals, and to improve as a speaker, you must learn how to use your hands." However, there is such thing as overuse of hand gestures. If I kept talking while waving my arms around frantically like this, that's all you'd be able to pay attention to. Another helpful tip that can improve the quality of speaking is realizing who your audience is and how you can mold yourself as a speaker to be more in tune with what they care about. University of Pittsburgh Department of Communication says that most audience members are egocentric. They are generally interested in things that directly affect them or their communities. An effective speaker must be able to show their audience that the topic they're speaking out is important to them. What does that mean? It means understanding who you're talking to and changing yourself and your speaking to be more relatable. One way of doing this is through clothing. Take me, for instance. Before recording this, I didn't rent a tuxedo because I know that likely none of you are dressed up. I chose to wear something I would normally wear to class where I would be delivering this speech normally. There's a lot of different ways that you can adapt to an audience, though. If you're giving a scientific speech, you could use visual aids that depicts statistics or charts. Even something as simple as telling a joke before you're speaking could help your audience adapt to you before you even begin your speech. Striking balance is important too, though. I could have under-adapted this speech by continuing a streak of sweatpants and no showering, but I didn't. I could have over-adapted and recorded this on some fancy stage with professional lighting, but I didn't. Know your audience and what you can do to adapt to them, but most importantly, understand the line between doing too much and too little. The final and possibly the most important tip for speaking is the idea of having passion behind a speech. If there is no passion, it's really easy to lose attention. Passion can be a lot like a fickle beast, however, as it can be really easy to be overly passionate about a topic that you care about. Merriam-Webster defines passion to be an intense, driving, or overmastering feeling of conviction, which in itself sounds difficult to contain. I think we've all experienced this at some point. When speaking quickly turns into nonsense at a million words per minute. When dealing with a topic that you're passionate about, remember to take a deep breath and earnestly present the topic that you're passionate about in a clear, concise way. On the flip side, if you find yourself in a situation where an assignment requires you to deliver a speech on a specific topic that you aren't passionate about, it's important to do research and find a personal connection that leads to passion. Remember that any passion is better than none. Mika Hunter, founder of a company called Female Defender, which focuses on the public speaking development for women, says that the power of passion in public speaking beats the physical mechanics or techniques of the speaker. The origin of a great speech is the desire to motivate or change someone or something, and which means at the end of the day, if there's no amount of audience adaptation or hand gestures that can create a great speech if there is no passion behind what's being said. Remember to harness passion on topics that you care about. If presented calmly, you could even inspire the same passion in one of your audience members. On topics that you don't care about as much, hunt for any small detail. Do your research on the topic to find anything you can latch onto. Remember that as a student at CSU, you have great resources like the Morgan Library Database and others great resources that you can do research on and find millions of articles on pretty much any topic. So much like any other art form, there are many different ways to speak, and with that, many different techniques that can be used to improve the quality of speaking. Although we speak every day, speaking is not inherently easy, but just like any other difficult task, there are ways to get better through practice. It's important to remember that every expert was at one point a beginner, and through hard work and dedication, they were able to become masters of their craft. I'm not saying that if you learn to use these tools I have presented that you'll become a master speaker. I myself am no master speaker. But if you utilize what I presented to you properly, I can guarantee you that you'll become a better, less nervous speaker that is more capable of captivating audiences of any size. Thank you. I've really enjoyed the class, guys.